Good morning, everyone. I am so happy to welcome you to the fourth session of the Keep Safe Summer Series Community Engagement. And we're so happy to be here with a great team of folks that worked on our Keep Safe Guide on the community section, as well as on the Communities Together Guide. This is an important and timely conversation for this moment in history where communities mean everything to each other, and we have to make sure that we have the tools to make sure that we are able to support each other. Next slide, please. We're welcoming hundreds of folks from around Puerto Rico and around the country, the U.S. and around the world to talk about this critical theme. I want to first thank El Vocero and Simpson Strong-Tie, our two sponsors for the Keep Safe Summer Training Series, as well as many partners, including the AIA Puerto Rico, Mercy Corps, Perkins and Will, Builders Association, ReImagina Puerto Rico, as well as countless others that we're bringing together to produce this important series. Next slide. Enterprise Community Partners brings together developers and investors to create homes that are connected to opportunity. We try to create affordable housing through provision of capital and solutions and policy that will help promote resiliency and safe and affordable housing. Next slide, please. Here's a very important map we'd like to show you, and the reason why this theme of resilient and safe housing is so important. We know that so many households in Puerto Rico are facing an incredible economic crisis. In 2017, the per capita income of many households was a little bit over $12,000, and the median household income was about $19,000, with estimated renters having about $12,000 of income a year. What this means is that many households are one paycheck away from homelessness. There's it's important to recognize that over so many renters and so many households are paying over 40%, 50%, 60% of their household income on rent or mortgages, which means if there's a repair to be made or if there is a serious impact to the home, a lot of households just can't afford to pay for the fix or for the repair. So it's critical that we get together before an event to make sure that households have the important resources and tools needed to mitigate these impacts. Next slide. The risk coming forward to us is from every direction. Right now, we've got millions and millions of households around the world dealing with COVID and asking them to shelter in place. And we also have seen that COVID has also created a turndown in tourism, which has led to incredible economic fallout. And ultimately, many households are displaced from this risk. We also have storms and a very active hurricane season in the Atlantic, as well as earthquakes that have really impacted so many communities in southern Puerto Rico. And as we speak, there are tens and tens of thousands from around the United States, specifically in California, running from the fires that have basically overtaken the state of California. So this is a moment where we all have to reconcile with the fact that there are many risks that we're facing. We need to figure out how to solve and mitigate the impacts on our houses and our communities. Next slide. And many communities, as we know, have lived with the systemic denial of various services by federal agencies. And so many communities are in harm's way to begin with because of the disinvestment that has happened, rampant racism and redlining that has created a situation of unsustainability for many communities. And so even amidst all of this hazard and risk, so many communities have come together. Strong communities have banded together to work and support each other throughout this time and are more resilient as a result. Next slide, We developed the Keep Safe Housing Guide with many partners across Puerto Rico to help inform what resiliency looks like in Puerto Rico for housing, as well as other island communities that need support on safeguarding housing. Together with so many partners from across Puerto Rico, we were able to build a guide that we're proud of, that will help provide you practical solutions for your housing. Next slide. Guide, just like this program, starts with a sequence of things that you need to know in order to build and design safe housing, starting with your site and identification of risks. We reviewed this with Ada Monzon and Maria Roldan a couple weeks ago. Then we moved into protection, how to build a safe roof and foundation and walls and structure. Then we move into energy and water systems. And last week we covered Jonathan Marvell and Paul Faracelli. How do we build resilient and sustainable power systems, as well as sustainable water systems and septic? And then next week, moving into passive habitability with Dr. Fernando Peña. These are systems that can be built without electrical input. The next slide, the next series, we're going to get putting it together. How do we build and pay and contract for these important strategies? And today, we're going to be talking about how to bring together the community and build out community resiliency. The series is essentially targeted to understanding critical actions and strategies that can increase resiliency during design, construction, and operation. Also to help you identify best practices, models, and housing and community-based resiliency strategies. And we also will create a virtual community with all of you to get the word out, to share lessons learned, and ultimately, how do we build resilient housing? Next slide now. And today's goals are essentially to share best practices in community resiliency, to help understand how other communities throughout Puerto Rico are modeling this, and then ultimately how to build a community resiliency hub to support your community. Next slide. There are some opportunities coming before us right now. We've got 4 particular opportunities that I wanted to share with you before we go to our trainers. Next slide, please. The 4 training opportunities are, number 1, Yanel, if you could turn to the next slide, please. Okay. Number 1, we have the Cdbgdr MIT program that Vivienda has sponsored. This is a program that's allocated close to $8.25 billion for Puerto Rico's mitigation. And this is all coming forward now. Next week, there's going to be a seminar for community input to help ensure that community participation is included in the planning of this funding. The next opportunity is with the Cdbgdr funding that's coming forward. The Foundation for Puerto Rico has launched a convening this week to help build community input for the spend down of this VR funding. So each of the 78 municipalities across Puerto Rico will be provided with support to provide input into this program. The third opportunity is FEMA has launched a Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities program called BRIC, and Vivienda will be, and other agencies will be looking to build a program and an application for this agency program that will help support resiliency across Puerto Rico. This is a competitive award that communities from throughout the United States and Puerto Rico will be allowed to apply for. And then finally, FEMA has a flood mitigation assistance program that is available to support communities across Puerto Rico. And this is also going to be available, and you'll be hearing more about this as we go forward. I want to, before I turn to our speakers, just share with you a slide, a quote from a dear colleague and mentor of mine, Jane Jacobs, who says, "I don't watch my neighbors, I see them. We make our community safer together." And this is really about the testament to community resiliency and how communities need to really support each other and be able to fundamentally have an eye on the street so that communities can protect each other. And we are talking about this theme at a time where many communities are dealing with the turn down in the economy, businesses have been lost, and there are less eyes on the street. So it's important that we have this conversation today to really understand what to do. Next slide, please. I just want to introduce our speakers today. I want to first introduce Yanel. Yanel is a good dear partner of ours on this project, on the Keep Safe project, and she is also the founder of Resiliency, which is an effort to help support communities from across Puerto Rico develop resiliency solutions, and now across the world, bringing her know-how as a leader at Perkins and Will on resiliency, and as a leader in the architecture world on this team. We're so happy to have you with us today. Thank you for joining. Marlo Blaskas is the executive director of ReImagina Puerto Rico, an effort that was started with the Rockefeller Foundation many years ago after Maria, to really lead Puerto Rico's resiliency forward. And under her leadership, she's been able to produce incredible strategies and solutions and convenings to support and forward the resiliency and the revitalization of Puerto Rico. Karla Peña is the director of Mercy Corps in Puerto Rico. She brings to us an incredible wealth of knowledge from her experience on the ground working with communities from across Puerto Rico and in many parts of the world to promote resiliency and housing solutions. And so thank you all for coming to us today to speak about this important topic. Next slide. OGMA, I would be remiss in not thanking our dear translators, Selena and Nicole from OGMA, a woman-owned firm in San Juan. They've been incredible. They've helped translate our book and are with us today to translate our voices for you. Next slide. I want to also say, before we turn to our speakers, these sessions will offer you credit. The AIA is providing credit for each session, as well as the Colegio Arquitectos that will be providing credit to Puerto Rico-based architects. You'll also get PDH credits if you attend the sessions, and we'll offer those to you afterwards. And for everyone else, you'll get a certificate of attendance from Enterprise Community Partners. With that, and without further ado, I want to say thank you all for joining us, and I would like to turn to Malu.
Thank you, Lori. Hi all, my name is Marlo Blaskas, and I was the executive director of ReImagina Puerto Rico. And ReImagina Puerto Rico, a nonprofit initiative looking to promote the resilient reconstruction of Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. So various nonprofits, Enterprise, ReImagina, Mercy Corps, and Resiliency from Perkins and Will, we all got together and worked together on this guide. And what is it? It's a resilient community center design guide for islands. And this guide is directed mainly to community leaders and community leaders throughout the island. Whether you have a community center facility or you want to design one, this guide will help you. Okay, so it's basically, the idea with the guide is to inform the design of resilient community centers to strengthen organizational capacity, promote year-round education, and withstand environmental, social, and economic changes. The guide offers practical suggestions how to develop operational ability and relevant physical assets like solar panels and water cisterns to achieve resilience. So we had a lot of community centers throughout Puerto Rico, and community centers usually provide social and educational services throughout the years to their communities. And the idea is, after Hurricane Maria, as you probably all know, due to the great amount of devastation caused by Hurricane Maria, it was really the community organizations and the nonprofits who really supported the communities and not the government. So little by little, with the difficult experiences we had, we received a lot of help, and a lot of community centers started to become more resilient in providing services and support to their communities. Next slide, Yanel. So to give you an idea, this guide, the first part of the guide talks about community organization. It's very important to have a strong leadership and a strong community organization to develop and maintain a resilient community center. Part 2 talks about operating a resilient community center. And part 3 talks about the physical assets and elements in a resilient community center. And then part 4 basically talks about 8 case studies, 8 community centers that between us, these organizations we visited or either supported. Okay, so this guide is available in Spanish and in English under, you can access under the Enterprise homepage. Next slide. Now I'll turn it over to Karla.
Hi everyone. My name is Karla Peña. I'm the director for Mercy Corps Puerto Rico. And as part, we've been working in Puerto Rico since 2017, right after Hurricane Maria. And one of our main programs has supporting community centers in their transformation to become a resilience hub or resilience center. So I want to provide you some information from the experience of the field. You always can find more information in the manual. So I'm just going to highlight from the experience that we had working with over 15 community centers, some highlights. What is a